so we're going to start with the introductions. If we could start with Yaz, that would be great. And if you could just say your name and your position and where you work, that would be great.
Sure thing. My name is Yasmin Castillo, but everyone calls me Yaz. I am currently a marketing manager at Atlantic Records with a full roster of 13 amazing and talented artists.
And Brenda, do you want to start? Go next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Brenda Hua. I am actually recently departed as of 1 week, but I was at CAA as a touring assistant for 2.5 years, till 14 days ago, yeah. But I worked in the international touring department for about a year before moving into the urban department and also working on domestic West Coast touring.
Skylar, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. Hey everyone, my name is Skylar. I work at WME in the music department as a tour marketing assistant and the company's or the department's ticketing coordinator. Yeah, and I'm from New Jersey.
Naya, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, you guys. My name is Naya. I work at Def Jam as an A&R coordinator. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Michael, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. My name is Michael Jackson. Yep. Everybody call me MJ. I work at Def Jam Recordings as the promotions coordinator.
Bowie, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Bowie Chen from Queens, New York. I work at UTA, just like Brenda and Skylar. I work in the music touring department. I'm an assistant to 2 amazing agents who are grooming me to be the next up-and-coming executive so I can work with hopefully everyone on this call, soon enough.
And last but not least, Chris.
Yeah, it's me, Chris Davis, from Gary, Indiana, by way of Arkansas. You can hear the accent. Here from, working Def Jam as the marketing coordinator, where I have, a list of artists on the roster who my job is to make marketing activations for. So nice to meet y'all.
Awesome. So we'll just get right into it. You guys can ask your questions in the Q&A box here. The last 10 minutes of the panel will be the chance for you to ask your questions live. So feel free to start inputting your questions there. We're going to start off with the first question, which is, in what ways has working as an assistant shocked you about the music industry that you weren't prepared for?
I can grab that. I think what shocked me is that no amount of preparation can truly equip you to work in such a dynamic industry. I think, I don't want to sound like an A-type personality, but I worked really hard to get my assistant position, and I learned that the lessons are right there in the work. I can truly say that between assisting on projects like Lizzo or Nipsey Hussle or Gucci or the numerous other projects, along with managing the biggest artist on the Atlantic roster, Michael Kaiser, president of Black Music, that truly taught me how to execute budget, deal with interesting personalities, and most importantly, how the building works from the ground up. And I think it would have been a disservice to my career to skip those parts. So it might have been shocking, but it was definitely worth it.
Yeah, and I think I can echo a lot of the same thing that Yaz said. I think also another thing that shocked me was definitely, I guess for lack of a better word, how dispensable you may be as an assistant, just keeping it real with you guys. But I think there's ways and things that you can do to try to avoid being as dispensable as you might feel as you are, and that's just by getting to know people, kind of finding your tribe within the company. Always knowing what's going on at your level, the level above you, the level below you. I think, depending on who you are, you may be viewed as more dispensable than others, but yeah, I think that's definitely something that kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah, I can definitely testify to that sentiment. I don't know if a lot of people on this chat have been following the trades, but when the agency started making their cuts, CAA is the most recent to do so. And most of the music department got let go that day. And it was a really hard truth for a lot of assistants who had been there for years and years, some people even longer than I have. And seeing that the job can be taken away so quickly, that was definitely a thing. But I definitely agree with both Yaz and Skylar. I think that learning on the job is a huge portion of it. I think for me personally, the hardest thing that I learned being an assistant was just how there isn't a standardized system of merit. Like it's really hard for someone to judge your work or your personality by like something that maybe in a different line of work could be very clearly judged as like they're better or they're a harder worker or they're smarter or whatever it is. But in our industry, very particularly, like reputation is kind of your biggest champion, and in that ways it's a lot of like it's opinion based. Like even in the same way that we judge music, like if you like a song versus you don't, that's very much your opinion and how you can stand for it. And I think that stands for the business side of it as well. Like I think a lot of people, you're kind of limited to the opinions people have of you, and sometimes it's not necessarily like a standardized system of merit that people can judge your work on. So I think that was probably the hardest for me, or the biggest shocker, I guess. But in the same way, like just echoing what Skylar said about your network, like that's really important. And like the reason why people tell you all the time that it's really network based in this industry is mainly because like it depends on the opinions people have of you, and sometimes they can't see your work directly, but they have heard of you or heard about you. So
Yeah, I will definitely say the same thing. I think the biggest shocker for me was the amount of commitment that you give to your job. You know, as an assistant, you know, there is no 9 to 5. You don't clock in and you don't clock out. You know what I'm saying? It's been many a times, you know, I'm answering emails at 3 or 4 in the morning, and I got to make sure my boss Nikki has this or my boss has that. So it's just a commitment, you know. And I think, you know, as an assistant, I honestly believe we are probably the most important people in the building. Is because we make sure it's the little things that we make sure takes place behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? Everybody might not see the work itself, but it's a lot that goes behind these executive vice presidents, these presidents, for them to be able to do their job. So I think one of the biggest shockers was just the commitment and the amount of grind day in and day out that goes into play of doing what we do.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Mike, what is sleep? You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that is necessarily. It's and being an assistant, you know, I got promoted recently, but being an assistant, you don't really belong to yourself. You belong to the music or the executive, for lack of a better word. So if they need you at that time, you got to be available at that time. And to, you know, continue about what Brenda is talking about, definitely your network is important, right? That the first little bit of advice I got once I made it into the building is that everyone needed to know who I was, you know what I'm saying, within the first 2 weeks there, because it's important. Your relationships are important. You're going to have people who are going to vouch for you when you can't necessarily vouch for yourself. And so the most shocking thing for me is like, okay, this is the craziest time commitment ever. Also, you're never right. Didn't realize that. Didn't realize that you can't necessarily be right. You can, you know what I'm saying, you gotta take that L. But it's all for a process. It's all for a process.
Yeah, I could definitely attest to, you know, Chris. For me, it was just a hit the ground running type of thing. It was definitely something new and different. The way that I was, you know, I always grew up being or having to be at least 2 steps ahead of everybody. But, you know, with this, especially this being my first full-time job, I had to get used to the fact that, you know, you have to like start from square one. Like just, you know, you may not know everyone. You still, you know, have to get to know and learn the culture along with everything that your job truly entails, which 10 times out of 10 is definitely more than what your job description may say. So it's definitely that.
I completely agree with everyone. At the end of the day, I think we're all entrepreneurs. So I guess what was really shocking was getting into this business was there are go-getters and then there's us. There's literally, like, I remember one of my friends, he doesn't work in entertainment. And he's like, dude, you're always working. Like, you don't have a life. I was like, dude, this is my life. You feel me? But that's like, I mean, we all got into this because we have a passion for it. So I don't think it was too shocking, but it was just like, and you get calls at like 3 a.m. You're like, you know, but it is what it is.
I think what's shocking is how maybe we didn't expect all these people with higher titles to depend on us so much. And, you know, now that I am a marketing manager and I don't have an assistant, I realize how much I could use one and how much I could use that help, you know, or even just having someone to depend on or brainstorm with, or, you know, that has the little things while I got the big things and we can tag team. And, you know, when you're talking about your network, your boss is part of that network. And if you have their back, they'll have your back later on down the line. And, you know, like I said earlier, the lessons are right there in the work.
How do you think touring and marketing will change post-COVID?
Well, the first thing that jumped out to me when just thinking about your question was definitely show capacities. You know, the 930 Club, I went to college in DC, as some of you guys know, and the 930 Club is one of my favorite venues. It's like 1,200 people, but due to the pandemic and whatever the government and the CDC decides to implement post-COVID, you know, a venue that is 1,200 people could be cut down to like 800, you know, just for safety and health reasons. So definitely show capacities, among other things, I'm sure, the way people do shows. And, you know, I think it's speeding up also VR for sure. I think that sometime in the future, I don't know how near or far in the future, but I think there's going to be something around the idea of having like a concert in your family room, like in addition to, you know, VR. I think that's definitely going to be something that's going to pop up in the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much had the exact same thoughts. Like my first instinct was to think of the technological advancements and how music is going to be leaning very heavily on what technology can bring us in terms of not so much replacements, but alternatives to live music. And then when you think about if, God willing, post-COVID reality does come, hopefully soon, and we are able to actually gather in place and we're going to be going to venues, it's hard to think about when a show capacity is, or a venue capacity is reduced, you're suddenly limited to the amount of tickets you can sell, which then I come from a tour budgeting background. Like I worked before being at CAA routing the tours, I was working at a venue, actually making budgets and putting out pitches for artists to come to and play the shows. So understanding the mathematical elements behind how much a show costs, you're kind of able to understand that there's a fixed cost for the venue that's not going to change, because you're going to need the same amount of engineers to run the show. You're going to need the sound tech, you're going to need lighting, you're going to need the lighting guy, you're going to need your production manager and whatever else you need in the venue that's just fixed. So I expect that the ticket prices may go up depending on how many tickets you're able to sell. And then every venue has a limited amount of holds to give to an artist or artists in general. So if you just think about the backlog of all the shows that haven't played in 2020, and then all the albums that are coming out now, and all the artists that need to tour, I just feel like consumers, just the fans in general, we're going to have so much, we're going to be inundated with so many tours to choose from. So I just feel like there's going to be flux in pricing and just how tickets are costed, because there's so much to choose from and there's very little tickets to sell and you have to get all of them out. So I think that will be really interesting to watch, just how pricing changes and how the fans react.
I guess I can be the last one to talk about touring, huh? Well, I think Brenda and Skylar did, you know, you both have great points and it's spot on. You know, developing capacities will be cut. Obviously, touring is at a standstill. Capacities will be cut going into next year. Even now, they're closed. So for developing acts, it's going to be tougher to get on the road. Ticket prices will fluctuate for sure, but that doesn't go without saying that, you know, I look at the glass half full, and, you know, touring will come back, music will come back. This will all be over, you know. Granted, we have a vaccine come tomorrow, great. If not, slow and steady. I think that, you know, like Brenda was saying, how everything's all jam-packed together, all the festivals that are slated for fall and, you know, of next year, are getting pushed. Everything's getting pushed. So everything's jammed into, you know, a few months. And if you're not a top upper echelon artist, A-level artist, you're not selling out. We're not going to want to book you, right? But when all that's settled and life is back to normal, there will be a demand for live touring. You know, to Skylar's point, you know, maybe 5-10 years from now, there will be like a virtual, I don't know, artist hologram. Like I think Coachella had like Tupac do like a hologram, but at the end of the day, you can't substitute live performances, right? At the end of the day, I don't care if you can get J. Cole on a hologram. I will pay a pretty penny to go see him live. You cannot ever take that away from me. It could be 2050. People will still be paying tickets to go see a show, right? So that's where I see things, and that's hopefully where I think, you know, the business, especially in live touring, will go.
I think. Sorry. Just wanted to get in terms of the marketing side. I think the amazing thing about the world being like turned upside down is that it makes space for ingenuity. You know, we're literally forced to think outside of the box and create new experiences, whether it be drive-in concerts or virtual club nights or live stream festivals. You know, it's also going to change the kind of artists that we sign. You know, some artists are better shaking hands and kissing babies in the flesh. And to Bowie's point, some people you just have to see, you know, in real life. But what's going to come out of this is creativity and a lot of new ways of doing business, for sure.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
What do you aim to be known for in your career?
My career,
definitely.
Oh, you go, Naya, because I already cut you off before.
Oh, it's all good. I would definitely, if nothing else, will have liked to be known for my diligence, my perseverance, the fact that I'm a self-motivator, and that I'm determined to get things done regardless of, you know, how long it takes, because some sleepless nights are something serious. And just regardless of how much work or effort I have to put into something, just knowing that it's me, and because I'm the one doing it, it's gonna get done. Point blank, period.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Naya. My biggest goal to be known for is Mr. Make It Happen. Like, no matter what it is, like, just know that MJ gonna do it. You know, last week I had a situation where my boss hits me up and like, yo, I need you to run the Def Jam Instagram account for this live session. I'm like, I don't know how to do a live. So I called Chris, and Chris set me up to do a live session on Instagram, and I had to have a DJ come on live. It was my first time doing it, but I felt confident that he felt confident enough in me that I was willing to do whatever the case is to make it happen. So just being a person that's willing to do whatever it is to make things happen, and of course, you know, be one of the greatest music executives that ever do it. You know, I've always looked up to the greats, you know, the Leo Cohens, the P. Diddy's, you know, all of the guys that did it before us, the L.A. Reids. And I always wanted to be one of those guys that's mentioned in that same conversation. You know, my ultimate goal is to be president of Def Jam, you know, and I've been aiming for that every day. So I will say, like, my ultimate goal to be known for is just the guy that makes it happen, and the guy that's gonna do whatever it takes to be one of the greatest.
MJ out here inspiring people.
Hey man, listen, man. Hey, it is what it is. Gotta do what I gotta do, you know.
For me, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, MJ.
Tell him, MJ.
It's crazy. MJ actually started. We actually know each other from back in Arkansas, and it's crazy because like MJ started. And he emailed me one day, and I was like, "Yeah, MJ, I know who you are." He was like, "Chris, it's you." I'm like, "Yeah, it's me, Chris. We in here together now." Being in this position though, what I want to be known for, the crazy part about it is if you do your job well, you will have individuals that you meet that will be invested into your future. So with that being said, like, people want to have great careers and whatever, and that's great. You know what I'm saying? I've told my boss on plenty of occasions, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I would love to write a song one day for one of the artists, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, do it. And I was like, for real? And he was like, yes. Being in this position, you know what I'm saying, gives you the ability to be, you know, whoever you want to be. Like, for those of us who are assistants, we may have aspirations to do other things. Like we might have wanted to be in the business side of music, but some of us are producers. Some of us are, singers. Some of us are writers. Continue to climb to your aspirations and understand that you can do it all, right? You can be a Jamie Foxx. You can be in skits, act, sing, dance. You know what I'm saying? You could be, Diddy was in music videos. You know what I'm saying? Like you can be whatever you want to be. So take clear advantage. And what I want to be, is a great songwriter who can convey a feeling and mobilize it into a movement. So that's what I want to do.
I think Chris said something about people investing in your career, and that's something that I think I've really been thinking about, especially being in the position as an assistant. So I think the two things I would really love to be known for are that person that kind of opens doors for other people. For me to even get to this point where I am now, a coordinator, like ticketing and a marketing assistant, people had to put their name on the line, put their reputation on the line, just so that I had a chance. So I would really love to be able to do the same thing for people that look like me and people coming behind me that want to do the same thing. So I think I would like to do that. I would like to be known for that, excuse me. I also would love to be known for working on projects that are really impactful in culture, and projects that kind of live outside of their initial medium, if that makes sense. So if a film is super impactful in culture, that's great. But if I work on a film that a college student somewhere writes their senior thesis on and about how, it changed their mindset or changed their idea or just had a great impact on the community where they're from, I would love to be a part of projects like that. So I would say those two things. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely like to echo Skylar's points tenfold. Like, I'm definitely a person who leads with sentiment in most of the things I do. I sometimes feel like I'm overly sentimental, but I also like to believe that's not possible. But I'm definitely one of those, like, I hope that kind of in the vein of what a lot of you guys are saying, the same things, it's like, I think a lot of the advice sometimes people give you is very much to like mind your lane, figure out like what you want to do and do it. And I'm one of those people who really wants to do a lot and wants to be able to, it's hard for me to say I only want to pick one thing and that's all I want to do. And some of the advice I've been given is very much like, you can't live like that. There's no way to make a career like that. You just have to figure it out, like pick one and move on. And in that way, like, I hope that I do end up becoming one of those people whose legacies is that I have been able to influence or touch many projects that span different elements of what music and culture can be. But I really want to stress, like Skylar's point for sure, like a lot of the people who came before me are the reasons why I am where I am and have been where I've been able to, like the rooms I've been allowed in. And I definitely think if you are just a naturally like engaged person who is willing to share like vibes with people around you and like good energy and like lead with just intention and sentiment in what you do, like you will naturally draw people around you who will either uplift you or people around you that you will then want to invest in, like backwards, I guess, or forwards. I'm not sure which way the lateral movement in my head is looking, but I hope my career kind of looks like that. I hope when there's one day a biopic about me, like people will know that my personality spoke for itself. And that's kind of what I hope. I hope that I never really lose my personality to the elements of business. Fingers crossed.
I think in my career, I'd like to be remembered as a person of integrity. I want people to know how passionate I am about my artists and my teams and how hard I fight for them and champion them. I want to fulfill my dream of helping others achieve their goals while sticking to my values. And, like Skylar and like Brenda said, paying it forward, giving back to the people that look like us, even looking at this panel right now, I'm sure we each had people in our lives who vouched for us or made space for us. And I want to be that kind of person and pay it forward. I want to tell narratives that are true to my artist perspectives, and all the accolades will come with that, I think.
Agreed. I would love to be known to be a trailblazer, really, like pretty much on the same page with everyone to really open doors. Like it wasn't easy for myself to get into the music business specifically. Brenda, correct me if I'm wrong, not a lot of people look like us in this at this business. So, it'd be nice to, have a kid like myself that can look at me and be like, wow, you can do it. So can I, So to be a trailblazer and to work with a lot of artists that have such a positive message, right? I think we all are in the music business because we have a passion for it and what it means to you and what it's done for you. And if we can, you know, kind of get that to, you know, especially in touring for me specifically, get that out in front of as many people as I can and impact them in a positive way, I think that that's a blessing, right? You know, like Pac said best, like, I might not be the smartest one, but I promise you'll spark that mind that will be.
Awesome. So with that, we're going to get right into the live Q&A. We're going to start with our first out of 3 questions. Let me make sure that. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Saransh. Firstly, just want to say thank you all so much for speaking to us. I think I speak for all of us listening when I say it's really inspiring to hear all of your perspectives, and you have super unique vantage points, and I'm a recent graduate, so really nice to hear all of your thoughts. And something that I'm wondering about is how all of you have straddled developing relationships and establishing your reputation and drive as assistants without being perceived as overbearing or overstepping, and whether that's kind of a dynamic that you've struggled with, kind of striking the balance between establishing yourself as an individual while also ultimately benefiting the company that you're working for at large.
I can take it. Oh, you want to go? You want to go, Yaz?
You can go, Brenda.
I can answer that, I guess, from the perspective of working as an assistant at CAA specifically. I think it's an insecurity that probably crosses people's minds more than you think, even people who are maybe a little more senior than where you might be in your position. But I think the things that people have taught me, the lessons that I've been given that have helped in that sort of situation is, especially to answer the part of the question about minding where you should be, like what your place is and what's too much. I think reading the room is always the best way to do it. Like if you feel a sense of like awkwardness coming off of the person that you're speaking to, it's probably like you can just like, you're able to understand like how they're responding to what you're putting out there. But at the same time, I want to say like, it's best to always be yourself and be more than being less, if that makes sense. I think that if you're like being your natural person and someone doesn't vibe with that or doesn't like necessarily want to help you or feel like energy coming off of you, that person is not meant to be on your team, on your corner. And that this doesn't mean that someone else won't be in your team, on your corner. It just might not be that person. But it's better that you are always leading with who you are and like what you believe in and how you want to present yourself. But that being said, like common sense always, like if you walk into a room and everyone's like rather silent and really close knit things, it's probably not the best time for you to like walk out and be bold, be like, I'm this person, like here's my resume, here are some cards, like please help me, I want your attention. But if everyone's kind of like sharing energy and you know that that's kind of the vibe of the room, like it doesn't hurt to walk up to someone and be like, yo, like I vibe with you, like this is my name, I like whatever you're doing, I think you're cool, I've seen your picture in Variety, I know that you've worked with this artist, like I just want to hear about your projects, and always just be interested. I think if you're respectful, like you can't really go wrong, but don't let anyone ever try to silence you. If someone tells you that you need to just be in a corner and shut up and listen, like maybe that's not the best advice, but that's always my opinion. I always think you should do more than do less. So,
but not too much, Brenda. Yeah, I think it's about balance, you know. To Brenda's point, it's about just being yourself. At the end of the day, you're at work and you have a job to do. Your thank you is your paycheck is one of my favorite quotes from my mentor. And, you know, in terms of networking, because it is important, you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find those people who you vibe with and who have the same work ethic as you or the same kind of, you know, vibe or, you know, energy as you. And those will be the people you go to for mentorship or advice. And, you know, everyone else you may not be best friends with, but, you know, they'll see the work you do and they'll respect it.
Yeah, I said that so beautifully because I had a thought on that. But for me, it was kind of like if you're networking, like we've all been there where like come from a good place. Like if you genuinely have a question, you know, and you really want to know the answer to it, and you reach out and like, hey, look, I heard that you did this and that, or whatever the case may be. And if they get back to you, great. And if they don't, 9 out of 10 times they don't, it's their loss, not yours. You know, keep it moving.
All right, we'll go with the next question.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Cool. So my question is, I'm a coordinator at Interscope, and one of the things, I've been an assistant at agencies before, and one of the things I think I struggled with was balancing all of the admin work that I had to do for my boss, you know, rolling the calls, scheduling the meetings, doing the paperwork, and not finding very much time to do my own hustle. So it's kind of a two-part question. So balancing that, how did you find the balance in making time to advance yourself beyond doing the admin work? And then the second part of that question is, how do you convince your bosses to give you the space to do more than just admin and to take on projects that will actually help you advance?
Yo, let me grab this one. I like this one a lot. So when I first started off, I didn't really know how to be an assistant. So like when I first started off, I was a little rough around the edges, right? So when you in the building, I would say like your main job as an assistant is to make sure your bosses have everything they need, right? Once you master that and you know your bosses and y'all vibe and you click and you know, like every single day, like I know what my boss needs before she asks for it, right? Once you master that part of it, then after they see that, okay, you can do this, okay, you kind of come up to them and say, yo, I see you working on this. Can I help you with that? You know, when I started off, it was just straight admin. I work in promotion, so it was straight admin. And after a while, they needed me to take an artist on the road to go to different radio stations, or they needed me to go help Kanye with Sunday service or whatever the case may be. I've already proven that I can handle the admin, the expenses and everything. So after I've shown that I can do that and master that, then they would trust me with bigger responsibilities. And I think once you master that and once you master the ability to do the admin things, they will then trust you to do everything else.
Yeah,
I agree.
And in terms of taking on more work, I can speak to that. You know, I started off as executive assistant to Michael Kaiser. That's a big responsibility. He's a high-level executive. So to Mike's point, you know, making sure everything's on point. And then eventually I would say, hey, is it okay if I join you in this radio meeting? Is it okay if I can go to this marketing meeting? Or maybe, you know, I know a project's coming out and I come up with some ideas, some marketing ideas for, you know, a product manager, and I can help them on that project. But it's about figuring out what that balance is, the time that you need to do your stuff, carve out that time and schedule that time accordingly and focus all your energy when you're in it. But the work has to be done so you can build that trust and show people that you can handle more responsibilities, you know? And in terms of, you know, taking on projects while you are an assistant, I took on my first project, 22 Gs. That was the first project I had as an assistant, and it was something that I just grabbed because, you know, I was passionate about it. He was from my neighborhood and I raised my hand, and, you know, it's show and prove.
Yeah, and I think to kind of just echo what my peers have already said, you know, if your boss gives you an assignment that, you know, it's pretty easy to do, or it's pretty small, you have to do that to perfection, essentially. If you want to, you know, expect to get some larger task and, you know, get some of the bigger fish in terms of clients and start working on those, because you have to build up trust. That's something definitely that I was learning as I got into the tour marketing world more so, like I said, on the marketing side rather than ticketing. And on the note of finding time to like grind and do stuff that you want for yourself, you just have to do it. Honestly, I think this job can eat you up, especially in the agency world. You know, it can be a lot of work. It can be very stressful. There's no I'm not responding to your email because it's after hours type of thing. Like, your boss is going to expect you to respond. But you just have to write it down. You have to make a note to yourself, okay, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to reach out to this person today to set up a lunch with them because I want to meet them and, get to know their story. You just have to make it a point to do it. But yeah, I think if you prove that you can handle the work, I think your boss also will keep giving you bigger projects.
Awesome. We're going to jump to our last question before we wrap up.
Hi, my name's Robin. Thank you all for your time tonight. Really appreciate that. So I was the youngest person on the team at Legends in Concert. I say was because COVID-19 changed that, unfortunately. So as the token millennial will say, older managers would often ask me my opinion on certain things, whether it was marketing materials or show ideas, whatever it might be. They say, hey, you're young, what do you think this is cool or not? But then on the other hand, a lot of times if I would speak up in a meeting and raise my voice and say, hey, why don't we try something like this or do it this way? A lot of times the response would be kind of, well, we've always done it this way, so why should we change? So it's kind of like this two sides to the coin. So I'm wondering if you as assistants and as young people, what ways you've had to use to have more success in getting people to take your thoughts and opinions seriously rather than just dismiss them.
I can add that one because I've been prompted to do that quite a few times. In terms of, there is a thin line between you're young, what do you think is cool, and you're young, you don't know anything, right? Or with that degree, if you're going to make a claim in terms of trying to get another way, the most effective method is being able to express why that works, right? The industry that we work on, while everyone is professionals, it's not necessarily ran on opinion. Like it's ran on facts. So if you're proposing an idea or proposing a new way to do something that hasn't been done before, then why would this work? Think of your opinion as an investment, right? Because what you say, should they go forward with that opinion, is going to cost money somewhere. See what I'm saying? So with that being said, when you're proposing something, have facts, have something that says, this is going to work and this is why. These are the artists who've been doing it and they've been successful with A, B, and C. These are your artist affinity artists, which means these are similar artists who are doing this currently, and this is how it turned out for them. If you're going to propose something new, you gotta let them know why it works.
I think that, yeah, anytime you have facts and data and maybe even some statistics to back up why you're recommending something or your idea about something, I think that will definitely help. I was working at a different entity other than WME before I started my job at WME. It was my first real taste of the industry. Somebody asked me that exact same question, Robin. Somebody was like, well, you're X age, what do you think? Or what are your opinions about this? And I said my opinion and my thoughts. And this was a company that curates music videos, if you will. And they basically heard my opinion in the meeting, and it kind of got shoo-shooed away by one of the higher ups in the meeting. The next meeting, they did not implement the idea. So following the second meeting, I basically put together a packet of statistics from music streaming platforms, social media, and I put together this packet and I gave it to my boss and I said, this is what I was saying in the meeting before, and I think it'd be cool if you guys could at least consider this data to implement in how you curate these videos. And following my delivering of that packet to my boss, they ended up doing it in the following meeting. And because he was able to flip through the packet and see data and statistics. So I think anytime you can provide that will definitely help.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think it's, what Skylar is mentioning, having those facts, because everyone has ideas, right? It's about what can actually be executed. So if you come to someone with a well thought idea, you know, that's going to make your argument. And on top of it, you know, it's great to have a champion. You know, if you have someone who's going to champion you, you can go to them and say, hey, I have these great ideas for this. What do you think? And then when you're in those big rooms, they can point to you and say, hey, you know, Brenda has a great idea. You should speak on it. You know, it's not an industry where you can just do things by yourself. It's important to have champions, and it's important to have your stuff together so that, you know, you don't have them looking too crazy out there.
Just to add, Robin, in terms of what Yaz is saying to have a champion, like, and what we were saying prior to this, you know, you have to have some sort of like a reputation, right? You need to build the trust, right? And, you know, you can't be a week in and say like, hey, I've got this idea, like, great, like, who is this kid, right? Build the reputation that you have, and get it in writing. So if you want to submit this marketing idea, right, send them an email and say like, hey, maybe not in the meeting specifically, maybe they brush it off, and let's say, you know, show doesn't go well, whatever the case may be, and the idea that you had worked, you can reply on top of that email and say like, hey, look, by the way, look, this person did it, this company did it, and it worked out great. Keep at it. Maybe your fifth time, be like, man, maybe Robin does have a point. You know, keep at it, keep that reputation strong, don't stop.
It's definitely about marketing yourself as someone who has great ideas and that you can go to, you know, whether that be within the building, whether that be outside of the building, things you're taking on, you know, extracurricular things, or maybe other hustles that you have. Do it to your best ability and build your reputation, and people will trust you more and take more of your ideas.
Yeah, and stand on that. If you got an idea that you really love, sometimes you got to stand on the table in the conference room and say, this is my idea, this is what we gonna do, y'all get behind me. Now, it might work or you might get fired, but at least you tried and you did it with passion, right? So that's what you do. You stand on whatever idea, you stand on that. I'm just in with that.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up with this one last question. What is your favorite part about working in the music industry?
My favorite part is definitely the networking and the opportunities. I'm definitely a people person. I like to think so. And I've always had this fascination for the live events, the concerts, and physically seeing the fan to artist interaction. That's kind of like my high. So that's what I love most about this job, and just the music overall. It's the music over everything. So yeah, it's definitely my favorite.
I think in addition to being able to just like nerd out on, you know, the marketing plans of stuff and like the way a tour is performing, and, you know, and in addition to being able to do that, I think just in general, like Naya said, the music, it's just where entertainment's fun. It's a really cool space, and it reflects culture. It also shifts culture. It's just such an influential industry. And I think that's just so much fun to be a part of, especially with people that kind of are like-minded and also have the same passion for the industry and the culture and the art that you do. So yeah, it's definitely a fun space to work in.
Well, I'll go ahead and say, I'm sorry, you want to go ahead?
Personally, I think we all love music. You know, it's the art form that travels the farthest, the fastest. You know, I'm a lover of words, so lyrics get me. I know that a song could bring me back to any time in my life. You know, if I hear a song, it'll bring me back to a certain time. So I've always been a lover of music. I love helping people achieve their goals. I love being creative. I love, you know, being bossy, making plans and seeing them come to fruition, and being able to do that in a space where, you know, I get to meet wonderful creatives and be a part of really super cool things. That makes all the late nights and stress worth it, for sure.
Yeah, just to piggyback, man, this music industry is some dope shit. I'm just gonna put it out there, man. It's super dope. Just being part of so many, you know, for me personally, I've been a part of so many iconic and dope moments. Like, I was at the DMX and Snoop battle. Like, I was behind the scenes at that event. I was at Kanye's Sunday service. Like, it just like, dang, like I was a part of so many just dope moments. And I think the thing about our jobs, if you love music, me in particular, I love music and I love hip hop and I love the culture. So just being a part of it from the inside and seeing it before it goes out into the world, I think it's just some cool and dope shit. So yeah.
I really got, I mean, everyone just had such beautiful points. Like, really, just being, you know, we have such a beautiful, like, such a major platform, like, you know, as opposed to, you know, a lot of our friends that work in finance or whatever the case may be, like music, we have such a major platform to be involved, to inspire millions of people. That's dope.
I mean, I can only echo what everyone just said because it's pretty similar on my end. Like, I think just being a part of culture, especially the element of culture that I love the most, and being able to wake up and work in it every single day and consider it like what you do for a living is pretty phenomenal. I love the life cycle of music and being able to be in a conference room talking about a tour and then actually seeing the tour happen. And it's like an incredible show, and you see the artists connect with their fans and you just like feel the energy in the room and you know that like you had a hand in making that happen. It's one of the best feelings in the world, I think. And then generally what Skylar said, the nerding out with everyone around me constantly, that is definitely my favorite part, whether it's like about an album or how a tour came together or the marketing rollout of a specific song or an artist. Like being able to turn around and all my peers are as deep in the sand as I am, that's definitely the best part, for sure. And the music, of course, I think it's phenomenal. And I agree with Yaz, lyrics get me too.
All right. Sorry about that. Had a call, you know, when the boss call, you got to answer. That's what that is. That's sorry, guys. That's what that is. Best part about this thing, man, just the music, the connections, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, truth be told, you know, our day is consisted of how to make some of, you know what I'm saying, our wildest dreams or like our best musical projects amplified to the most amount of people at one time. So it's like, it's cool, you know what I'm saying? For example, working on this, we worked on a Logic plan for his album, right? And then Logic jumped on the Zoom. And in your mind, you're like, oh, that's Logic. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. But you can't say that's crazy to Logic, right? But it's like, you know, I did sneak and take, you know what I'm saying, some Zoom screenshots for me, you know what I'm saying, for, you know, for future reference. But it's like just, yeah, the moving the culture forward, it's like the most beautiful thing possible. And like just being in the room, and you know what I'm saying, and having artists know your name. I know that sounds crazy, like, because we're not supposed to nerd out, but it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like when an artist be like, hey, get Chris on the phone. What? You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? So it just, I think that is the most beautiful part. And I'm happy to be here. In spite of it all, you know, I was like there's no other place I would want to be, you know what I'm saying, than besides, you know what I'm saying, music and music creatives, and just what is meant for you is meant for you. You know, a year ago, started as an EA, got promoted, but a year before that, I worked at a middle school. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's also a tidbit to everybody else. Like, what's meant for you is meant for you. Continue to work, continue to network horizontally, and you're going to walk into what your purpose is. All right. That's it for me.
All right, well, we'll end with that. Thank you everyone for attending, and thank you so much to our wonderful panelists. We really appreciate it. For our next panel, you can follow us on Instagram at Color Music Collective, and you can be the first to know. But with that, we're gonna end, and thank you all so much again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Y'all have a good one. Be safe out there. Wash your hands. Put your mask on.
Mike.
I'm letting you know, man. Put your mask on.
You gotta be like this.
Quick PSA to end.
I'm out there spreading that corona now.
Rona?
I'm be out there spreading it. All right. Y'all take care.
Oh, peace and love.
Bye.
Bye, guys.